Welcome back to the Pro Sports Podcasters on YouTube. My name is Ram. Most of you know me as Kobe. And today I want to take a quick look at the Dapper Labs Sports NFTs and who are they actually for. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to talk about three specific groups that I think would be interested in collecting Dapper Labs Sports NFTs, each of which has their own reasons, and then ask you, which group are you? And some of you may even be multiples. You might be two of the groups mentioned. You might be all three of the groups I'm going to go over. But which group really are you? And let us know in the comments, because I want to kind of figure it out who's actually on the marketplace, who's investing, who's active on these Dapper Labs Sports NFTs. And the three groups I've identified are collectors, fans, and investors. And each group has their own reason for getting into something like this. And I'm going to go over all three, and I'll begin with the collectors. And collectors generally see the actual product as the value. Okay, so it's not that they're specifically after, let's say in the case of NBA Top Shot, basketball NFTs or NFL All Day, NFL NFTs or UFC Strike, UFC NFTs. What they actually look at is that particular platform itself. So if they think the NBA Top Shot platform can be a valuable platform to them, they'll collect it. If they see NFL All Day as a valuable platform, they'll collect it, and so on. And collectors have been around for ages. Some people collect art. Some people collect comic books, right? Some people collect other sports memorabilia like sports cards or jerseys or ticket stubs or helmets and the like. So they see the actual product as the valuable thing. Okay, so it doesn't so much matter what sport it's attached to as much as the platform itself is a interesting and valuable commodity to them. And collectors are the kind of people that are going to go after specific sets, generally speaking. So in the case of NBA Top Shot, maybe they're after hustle and flow sets. Maybe that's their thing. In the case of NFL All Day, maybe they want to collect all the locked in, players from the locked in set. Maybe that's their thing. Maybe they want to collect certain teams, have all the teams, every player represented. Maybe they want the entire base set. Maybe they want one of absolutely everything. It doesn't really matter, but collectors generally set themselves goals within specific sets of whatever they're collecting. That's what they go after. The next group are the fans. And the fans are very simple to identify. I mean, it's literally, fan is just a short for fanatic. These are fanatical fans of the particular sport. So fans are more likely to be in fewer of these Dapper Labs platforms than, say, all three, right? I'm actually in all three. Even though I am a fan, a big fan, especially of the NFL, and somewhat of a fan of the UFC. I'm more of an analyst in UFC than a fan, but I'm a huge fan of NFL. So as a fan, there are going to be specific players in this case, or specific teams that you're just going to want hell or high water. You're going to want to get them. So fans will go after those kind of specific groups, right? Their collections could be smaller in some cases because of that. Or they could even be larger depending on how big of a fan and how wide their fandom sort of, expands to. And then the last group are the investors. And the investors could care less what they're investing in. All they care about is the X's and O's at the end of it, right? Whether or not their collection of moments they've purchased are going up in value or down in value, and what is the long-term or short-term likelihood they can turn a profit on it. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter which players are involved. It doesn't matter which platforms. All that matters is that they're making money at this. And those are the three different groups that you're looking at, right? Those are the three groups. And there are ways to cater to all three, but who is Dapper Labs really catering to right now? And is it the same across all platforms, or are there certain platforms that cater to certain groups more than others? We'll figure that out. Now, I'm not that active on NBA Top Shot. I originally got into it just because I wanted to get a feel for Dapper Labs, but upon getting into it and the time I spent sort of really researching it, it was obvious to me that NBA Top Shot was all about the investment side of things with a little bit of the collector splashed in. It didn't care so much about the fan, to be honest, right? The fan wasn't very well represented as far as their challenges went, the distribution of moments in each particular set, right? Where the value really was. The fans weren't very well represented. The collectors were well represented, and they did that in the way of their collector score, right? Rewarding people on the platform for having specific collections, boosting their collector score, and allowing them access to things that non-collectors wouldn't really have access to. So that was somewhat represented, not in the best way, wasn't utilized in a very fan-friendly way, to be honest, but it was there. What it really came down to was all about the investors, right? They were really going after the investors with the NBA Top Shot platform, in that they were releasing more and more of these top-tier players, just pumping out moments, whether they be rewards for challenges or specific specialty subsets that had these specific players in them, generally releasing them as rares or legendaries to boost values. That was the idea behind it. It worked for a certain period of time and got a lot of hype because there were some expensive moments being bought and sold on their marketplace, but the result of it now is that unless you have a lot of money to get in on NBA Top Shot, chances are you're going to have a collection full of relatively inexpensive, worthless moments. So that just didn't fly. They're trying to correct that with NFL All Day and UFC Strike. They've gone away from that original, let's pump out as many as we can of these, top 10 players, or top 10, in the case of UFC Strike, fighters, and see what we can get. They've gone away from that. So that was a good sort of learning moment for them that happened with NBA Top Shot, but the NBA Top Shot, collectors suffered as a result. And then when I look at UFC Strike, they did make an effort in the very beginning to reward collectors, in that they did do a couple of airdrops specifically related to having, say, the full Series 0 set or the full Series 1 set at the time for, say, the contender moments or the challenger moments. And if you maybe had a legendary, you got an additional bonus. But they did reward the collectors that way early. That happened a couple of times, then they've gone away from that. Now their challenges are specifically about, let's list off 8 different fighters varying in rarities, and you have to have that specific group for the upcoming, say, UFC, which involves a number of those fighters, or they have connections to that UFC in particular. So they've done that now. That doesn't really reward collectors at all. It's not the best for fans, because especially in something as specific as the UFC, where you're not a fan of a team, you're a fan of individual fighters, being forced to build collections with 10 plus random fighters in order to complete challenges isn't going to work for the average fan. Again, it's more lean toward investors. They're putting a premium now on the challenger level moment, so that would be the rare tier moment. Basically every single challenge is going to involve, 1 or 2 of those at least. So they're pushing it toward investors because they're hoping every time there's a new UFC, they're able to stimulate the marketplace, jack up the values on a few different moments, and then investors can buy or sell at the time in order to take a profit or build their collections. So strictly investor based as far as I see right now on the UFC Strike side of things. And then last, we got NFL All Day when we're looking at the 3 different platforms. And NFL All Day, it's a little different. First of all, it's still very young, right? We really haven't had it during a full season of NFL play yet. So there's a lot of speculation as to what will come. But leading up to that, currently, one of the most recent challenges was kind of investment based, right? It was rare tier specific. So that really shut out a lot of people on the platform right off the hop, depending on whether or not they had expendable income at the time. So that was an issue. There are all kinds of subsets in NFL All Day. Of course, you have all the NFL teams. They haven't even hinted at something coming up that involves having a specific subset or having a specific team or rewarding you for such in some way or form. So people who are real fans of, say, a specific team, They haven't been rewarded for collecting all of the available, players from that specific team. They've done it. You can go on a third-party site like Own the Moment and see how many teams you've collected, but it's done nothing for you so far as on the NFL All Day platform. And then you could also look at these different subsets, of which there's plenty of them, although I will kind of add a caveat here in that none of them are complete, right? Until they release the remaining, packs from last season with a number of players that haven't even been minted yet, there are still a certain number of these subset moments yet to be released. So people who have, say, all of the locked in don't have all of the locked in. There are still some remaining to be released. Someone like myself who has, all of Make the Stop or He Called Game, again, there's more coming out. So maybe you can't fully fault them for that, but the fact that it's available to us, we've gone through the effort of collecting all of these specific subsets to have all of these moments in our collections and really get nothing for it. Kind of leaves the collector out of it, right? So again, it all three of them feel like they're aiming this at investors. Now, I'm going to reserve my judgment on NFL All Day because, again, we haven't actually seen it operate during the season. But is aiming at investors the best way of going about it? To me, it's not. To me, there's one group in the three that you can always count on, and that's the fanatics. It's the fanatics, right? The fans. They're fanatical, right? They're going to want their moments, their players, any chance they can get them, they're going to go after them. So those are the ones that will stick with you no matter how the marketplace goes. The marketplace could be going down, down, down. The fanatics will stay. The collectors might look at it and go, we haven't been rewarded in quite some time for our collection, so maybe it's time to get the hell out. We'll sell to the fanatics. The investors, if the market goes down, they're going to find a way to get the hell out, right? If they don't think it can turn around, see ya. They're the most fickle of the three when it comes right down to it. But the fans, you can count on them. You can absolutely count on them. So I think Dapper Labs needs to start targeting the fans, doing stuff for the fans, right? And none of this last minute shit that we've seen in a couple of situations on different platforms. None of that. Actually things within the platform itself that rewards fans or engages the fans. That's what they need to do. Which group are you? Which one of the three are you? When it comes right down to it, I'm a little bit of all three. But probably most of all, I would be a collector. I've been a collector of a lot of things my whole life. I just have that kind of personality. I like to collect stuff. Playing cards, collectible card games early on, video games, whatever. I like collecting things, right? So that's probably what I am most of all as a collector. I'd be a fan second, probably investor 2B. If fan is 2A, investor's 2B. It's kind of why I got into this, because I wanted to invest in something. I wanted to take some of my, extra money, right? My expendable income, and turn it into something more without having to just stick it in a fund, a mutual fund or something. I wanted something that I could control a little more. I didn't want to play the stock market, not now, not in this economy. So because I was a fan of sports and because I'm a collector of things, this appealed to me. That's why I went for it. That was the driving force behind it. It also ties into what I do, so bonus, right? But what are you? Where do you fit? Let me know in the comments. Till next time.